chemical anomaly. If an allergic person is stung by a bee, it's important that they don't feel afraid or ashamed to get help. Treatments that may relieve the effects of a bee sting for a person who is not allergic to them, such as vinegar or spit on a dock leaf, are not effective to a person who is allergic to bee stings. Those allergic people need an EpiPen and, in some cases, professional medical attention. You can't snap out of an allergy, and a positive mental attitude, though helpful, is not an antidote. A person who is allergic to bee stings may encounter a bee and not get stung. For example, if a friend or colleague with an allergy fears they're at risk, they might say to you, "Hi, I'm allergic to bee stings and there's a bee in my office. I'm going to close the window to prevent more bees from coming in. I would also like to remove this enormous bouquet of flowers from my desk." Then you could say, "Sure thing, I'll put the bouquet in my office instead. I love hyacinths." If that person hasn't been stung for a while, that doesn't mean they're no longer allergic. Though they may take every precaution, no one is guaranteed lifelong bee sting evasion. However, no one should live in fear of their body's response to a chemical imbalance. By encouraging people to talk openly about their allergies and educating others about what to do if they encounter someone having an allergic reaction, we can make our garden safer for everyone, and we can all enjoy some time in the sun. When I was ill, I'd wake up every night between 3:30 and 5:30 a.m. I had two options. I could lie in bed imagining living out all the terrible things that could happen to the people I love, or I could get out of bed and write. So that's what I did. That's not what this audiobook is. I know that would be neat, but most of what I wrote during those lonely hours was gibberish. But it gave me something to do, and somewhere to put my madness, a way to contain it, to make sense of it. The popular narrative about mental health is one of breakdown and recovery. I wanted to kill myself, but now I run ultramarathons. While every experience is valid, and I applaud anyone who finds their way through their darkest moments, most people live their lives somewhere in the middle of these two binary states. They're not in crisis, but they're not coping well either. These are the moderately mad, the 1 in 10 British adults who are prescribed antidepressants for various forms of mental illness. Some are experiencing a response to trauma or formidable stress, a bereavement, a breakup, seemingly insurmountable debt. Some have been diagnosed with more complex pathological disorders. Some, like me, don't have a Scooby-Doo what's caused their depression, but know that medication keeps them from bursting into tears at unexpected noises, or when a soldier's reuniting with their dog's video pops up on their Instagram feed. So I don't know whether common mental health issues are a pathological illness or a normal human response to constantly changing life circumstances. I've tried to educate myself. I read James Davis's brilliant book, Cracked, and was appalled to discover that some women have been prescribed Prozac to treat PMS, and that the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders now includes caffeine withdrawal and internet addiction in its canon of mental illnesses. I spent a lot of time worrying about pathologizing my own illness. Then I realised it doesn't really matter. I mean, in the macro sense, of course it matters. I know that Big Pharma make billions of pounds a year from the notion that the drugs, and only the drugs, work. I take my meds because they work for me, and I feel wonky without them. I accept that I've been ill. But has the name I give my own madness ever helped me get out of bed? No. Has the nature versus nurture argument ever talked me down from having a panic attack? No. Maybe most of us don't need to worry about what particular label to put on the squatter in our brains. We only need to worry about how to evict it, or at least to live without fear of it burning the fucking house down. A couple of years ago, I was a guest on a popular radio show. I was working in a cafe at the time, and a blog I'd written about being body shamed by a Tinder date had gone viral. More on that later. This was one of a flurry of invitations I'd received to talk about my experience. I'd just finished a quiet shift. I made myself a flat white, took off my tabard.